Chapter 1. The Beginning. Emily's friend's birthday was a small island of joy in the grey of everyday life. Filling the space of the room with her enthusiasm and laughter, she felt that even the clouds outside the window could not interfere with this fun. Gathered together with their friends, they created a warm atmosphere filled with laughter and conversation. But in this crowd of happy faces, Emily noticed one person who was different from the rest. He was sitting in the corner, staring at his phone, as if trying to find solace in the digital world. His gaze was fixed on nothing, and his face expressed hidden sadness. Emily, unable to resist the urge to share her joy with someone who seemed lonely, approached him. "Hi," she said, smiling. "You look like you've never been here before." The man slowly raised his eyes and met Emily's gaze. His eyes were deep, filled with longing, but they lit up a little when he saw her smile. "Hi," he replied in a low voice. "Yes, I'm a little lost here." "My name is Emily," she introduced herself, holding out her hand. "I'm Jake," he said, shaking her hand. "Nice to meet you." Their short conversation quickly turned into a pleasant conversation. Emily told him about her friends and how she met her friend, whose birthday they were celebrating. Jake also told a little about himself, about his work and hobbies. As time passed, they became closer. Their conversations were light, sincere, as if they had known each other all their lives. Finally, as the evening drew to a close, Emily decided to suggest that Jake exchange numbers. "It was really nice talking to you," she said. "We have to repeat this." Jake smiled. "Yes, of course," he agreed. "I'd like that." And they exchanged numbers, both feeling that this was just the beginning of something special. Chapter 2. A surge of feelings. From that day on, Jake and Emily began to communicate more often. They sent messages to each other, shared their thoughts and impressions. Each meeting was a new adventure for them, full of amazing discoveries and pleasant conversations. One day, walking around the city, they stopped at a small cafe, where they spent several hours enjoying each other's company. Time flew by, and they realized that they wanted to spend the evening together. "Why don't we have dinner somewhere together?" Emily asked, smiling. "Sounds great," Jake replied, meeting her gaze. "Let's find some good place." They went to look for a restaurant where they could spend the evening. Along the way, they joked and shared stories from their lives, like old friends who had not seen each other for a long time. In the restaurant, time seemed to slow down. They enjoyed delicious food and endless conversations, finding more and more common interests. As the evening progressed, their bond became more intense, like a magnet attracting two hearts. As the evening wore on, Emily felt her feelings for Jake strengthen. She couldn't explain how it happened so quickly, but she knew she couldn't deny what she was feeling. When they finished dinner and went outside, Jake suddenly hugged her, pulling her to him. "Thanks for this evening," he said, looking into her eyes. "I feel so happy around you." Emily smiled and hugged him back. At that moment, she realized that she was in love with this man, and it was the most wonderful feeling in the world. Chapter 3. Shadows in Relationships. Every day, Emily became more and more immersed in her feelings for Jake. She found in him the support, understanding and warmth that was so lacking in her life. They spent more and more time together, and every moment seemed unique. However, over time, she noticed some changes in Jake's behavior. He became somewhat sullen, jerky, as if something weighed on him. Emily tried to figure out what was going on, but Jake waved her off, claiming that everything was fine. But despite his assurances, she sensed that something was wrong. Sometimes he would suddenly disappear for hours without leaving any explanation. Emily tried not to pay attention to it, but with each new disappearance, she felt that his trust in her was weakening. One day, she decided to surprise him and went to a restaurant to order dinner for two. She dreamed of seeing his smile, hearing his joyful laughter, but what she saw in the restaurant made her heart skip a beat. The table opposite was occupied. Jake was sitting there, hugging another woman, and their arms were folded together. Seeing this, Emily felt the ground give way under her feet. She couldn't believe her eyes, couldn't understand how this could happen. As if in a daze, she left the restaurant and carried her tears outside. Her world had collapsed, and she didn't know how to stop this torrent of pain that overwhelmed her. Chapter 4. Destruction. Emily ran through the streets, oblivious to everything around her. Tears were streaming down her face, but she didn't stop. Her heart was breaking into pieces, as if she was falling off a cliff without support. When she got to her house, she felt pain, fear, and rage fighting inside her for dominance. Her heart was bleeding from betrayal, and her mind was struggling with the idea of what she should do next. She couldn't stay here, couldn't stay with him after what she saw. Her trust was shattered, and she couldn't look at him with the same feeling anymore. Her heart was burning with pain as she began to pack her things. Every object reminded her of the happy moments they had spent together, the warmth of his hugs and the smile that lit up her days. But now it all seemed empty and useless. When everything was ready, Emily went outside with a suitcase in her hands. She felt that she couldn't stay here, that her place was no longer with him. Looking up at the sky, she realized that she needed to start a new chapter in her life, even if it meant starting over. Chapter 5. Meeting the Past. Emily was walking down the street, her mind in a complete mess. Her heart was still bleeding from the pain of betrayal, but determination lit up in her eyes. She couldn't stay in the past, she had to move forward. After walking a few blocks, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Emily, wait!" Jake shouted, catching up with her. She slowed her steps, not wanting to pay attention to him, but his words made her stop. "Please give me a chance to explain," he said, breathing heavily. Emily turned around, her eyes filled with bitterness and worry. "What could you explain to me, Jake? What is it?" she asked, her voice trembling with emotion. "I saw everything for myself." Jake approached her, his expression full of despair. "Please believe me, it's not what you think," he pleaded. "I can explain everything." Emily looked at him, her heart breaking. She wanted to believe him, but how could she, after what she saw? She knew she had to be strong, that she couldn't afford to give in to illusions again. "I'm sorry, Jake," she whispered, her voice low and broken. "But I can't do it anymore. This is the end." Emily's words pierced his heart, but he knew there was nothing more he could do. He stood there, mute, watching her walk away, knowing that he had lost the most precious thing he had. Chapter 6. Internal Search. After talking to Jake, Emily continued on her way, but her heart was full of mixed feelings. She couldn't hold back the tears, but at the same time she felt an inner surge of determination. It was a moment when she had to turn to herself and find answers. She decided to take a walk in the park, hoping that the fresh air and nature would help her clarify her thoughts. Fallen leaves rustled underfoot, and the wind whispered quiet words of comfort. Sitting down on the bench, Emily closed her eyes and tried to withdraw into herself. Her mind was full of questions and doubts. Why did this happen? Why hadn't she noticed the signs of infidelity before? And most importantly, what should I do now? Her mother's words came to her mind. Time heals all wounds. But how long will it last? How do you find the strength to forget about the past and start with a clean slate? While she was sitting there, she realized that her soul needed healing. She had to allow herself to accept all feelings, even the most painful ones. But at the same time, she had to find the strength to forgive herself not for Jake, but for herself. Emily realized that the path to healing would be long and difficult, but she carried hope for the future. She was getting stronger every day, and although she didn't know what lay ahead, she was ready to take on the challenge. Chapter 7. A New Beginning. As time went on, Emily began to find powers within herself that she hadn't known before. She realized that she had power over her destiny, and decided to use it to create a happy future. She began to engage in self-development, paying attention to her hobbies and interests, which she put aside during her relationship with Jake. It helped her feel more confident and fulfilled. In addition, Emily found support from her friends and family, who were always there to support her in difficult moments. They helped her overcome pain and disappointment, filling her life with joy and positivity. One day, while walking through the park, Emily noticed an ad for volunteering at a local shelter for homeless animals. It became a great way for her to help others and occupy her mind and time at the same time. Gradually, her heart began to heal, and she realized that forgiveness is not about forgetting the past, but about freeing herself from oppressive emotions and moving forward without the baggage of past resentments. She also began to believe in love again, although she understood that it would be a process that required time and patience. She knew that sooner or later someone would appear in her life who would appreciate her and love her sincerely. Thus, a new chapter in Emily's life has begun. She has become stronger, wiser, and more open to new opportunities. A bright future awaited her, and she was ready for it with an open heart and soul. Chapter 8. Meeting the Unexpected. As time went on, Emily sank deeper into her new hobbies and worries. She found joy in helping others, contributing to the world, making it a little better. One evening, when she was returning home after another day at the animal shelter, she noticed a stranger standing at her door. It was a man with dark hair and deep eyes that looked at her curiously. "Excuse me, are you Emily? What is it?" he asked, coming up to her. "Yes, it's me," she replied, a little puzzled. "My name is Mark." He introduced himself, smiling. "I've heard about your activities at the animal shelter. I myself work for a charitable organization that deals with environmental protection, and I would like to offer you cooperation." Emily was pleasantly surprised by this unexpected offer. She had always dreamed of doing more than just helping animals, and this chance seemed tempting to her. "I would love to know more about your organization," she replied, her voice full of excitement. Mark told her about the projects his organization was involved in, about the opportunities for volunteers, and how their work could affect environmental protection. With every word he spoke, a new interest and enthusiasm awoke in Emily. She understood that this was exactly what she was looking for, an opportunity to make the world a better place, not only for animals, but also for people. As they talked, she felt a new flame of hope and aspiration being born in her heart. It was a new challenge, and she was ready to accept it with open arms. Chapter 9. New Horizons. Collaboration with Mark's organization has opened up completely new opportunities and prospects for Emily. She delved into the study of environmental issues, participated in various environmental protection projects, and provided support to those who needed help. Every new day brought her new challenges and impressions. She traveled to different parts of the country, participated in actions to clean up nature, met with scientists and activists who shared their experience and knowledge with her. While working on various projects, Emily began to understand how important every action is in protecting the environment. She saw how small changes can lead to big results, and how important it is to inspire others to take action. But in addition to her professional achievements, there were also personal changes in her life. She was gradually freeing herself from the pain and disappointment that Jake's betrayal had brought her, and was finding new strength and confidence in herself. She was surrounded by the care and support of friends and colleagues who helped her in difficult moments and in joyful ones. She realized that true happiness does not depend on who is next to you, but on how you see the world around you and what you do to improve it. A new hope and optimism was born in Emily's heart. She believed in her strength, and that her life was becoming more intense and interesting every day. She was ready to accept any challenge that the future would bring her. Chapter 10. Returning to yourself. With each passing day, Emily felt her life become filled with meaning and purpose. She became not only an environmental activist, but also an example for others, inspiring them with her example and determination. Her participation in nature conservation projects has led to concrete results. Thanks to the efforts of Emily and her team, it was possible to organize a number of successful initiatives aimed at reducing pollution of reservoirs, restoring ecosystems, and protecting rare animal species. But in addition to her active work in the field of ecology, Emily also found the strength and time for personal growth. She again delved into the study of her hobbies and interests, reconnecting with herself and her inner world. In the process of self-discovery and inner growth, she realized that true happiness and satisfaction are not outside, but inside ourselves. She learned to appreciate the moments of joy and gratitude that each new victory and achievement brought her. Returning to her roots, to the source of inner strength and inspiration, Emily found inner peace and harmony. She realized that true happiness does not depend on external circumstances or achievements, but on how we treat ourselves and the world around us. Having regained the center of her existence within herself, Emily was ready to accept all the challenges that the future would bring her. She realized that this was the meaning of her life: to be true to herself and her beliefs, to go forward with an open heart and mind, ready for any trials that fate would bring her.